So if you guys have seen my live, I've mentioned a couple of times about this prison reform bill and how I feel that it is Trump's way of pre-paving the way to be able to get his family members and his close friends off as they all get marched into jail, like one by one. They are falling like a house of cards, okay? So I'm going to explain to you. This is going to be a long one. Please just follow me. Trust me. I don't make it long unless I have to. Okay. So I'm going to take you through what this bill entails and the things that stood out to me. Okay. So I'm going to be reading from congress.gov, and I'm also going to be reading from civilrights.org. Okay. And when I read, you're going to hear me say the Bureau of Prisons very often. Okay. When you think of the Bureau of Prisons, I want you to think of the Attorney General. Okay. So the Attorney General used to be Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions was so horrible that Coretta Scott King wrote letters trying not to get him in advancement in his legal career with his home state. Okay. So that's how bad he was. But Trump picked him for Attorney General because of that, pretty much. Right. And then Jeff Sessions, as a lawman, he recused himself of the Mueller investigation, which Trump gave him so much smoke that Jeff Sessions then recently stepped down from Attorney General. So right now, the acting Attorney General is Matthew Whitaker, okay? But every time I say the Bureau of Prisons, I'm just going to just think about Jeff Sessions' replacement, because Trump has not appointed the new Attorney General yet, okay? So I'm just going to say Jeff Sessions' replacement, okay? Because I want you to get that picture in your head, okay? So every time I say the Bureau of Prisons, understand that the Bureau of Prisons is under the Attorney General's office, Jeff Sessions' replacement. All right, let's go. So Title 1, recidivism reduction. The Bureau of Prisons, Jeff Sessions, must implement the risk and needs assessment system. The bill modifies the computation of a good time credit and allow a prisoner to earn a maximum of 54 days per year of the sentence imposed instead of 54 days per year of the sentence actually served. Okay, that sounds really good until you think about the fact that Jeff Sessions is the one who's going to implement this risk assessment. Okay, and this is from civilrights.org. The act purports to offer to people in prison the chance to earn time credits toward early release and pre-release custody, but by building and placing a risk and a needs assessment algorithm in the hands of Attorney General Jeff Sessions, one not to be required to be designed or tailored for the individuals that it is meant to judge. And I'm going to correct that, and it is designed to hit the individuals, to accommodate the individuals that is meant to judge. It's not for us. We risking embedding deep racial and class bias into decisions that heavily impact the lives and futures of federal prisoners and their families. They don't care. Okay, this is so they can get their people off. All right. Researchers have shown that risk assessment tools applied in sentencing decisions in Florida meant to predict recidivism were twice as likely to be wrong when evaluating Black people as white people. One of the first independent studies analyzing the use of risk assessment in pretrials showed that decision makers using risk assessment tools, in this case Kentucky judges, ignored their results over time. Okay? Because why? Because ultimately it's by the Bureau of Prisons. Ignored the results over time while also overseeing an increase in failures to appear at court and an increase in pretrial arrests. And further recent analysis showed that the risk assessment tools are as accurate as a prediction made by a random human selected over the internet. And it goes on to talk about how we can't have this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, Section 3. The Government Accountability Office, same thing, okay? Jeff Sessions must audit the use of the risk and needs of the assessment system at the Bureau of Prisons. So Jeff Sessions is going to evaluate Jeff Sessions. Okay? This is misplaced incentive, effectively reducing recidivism. This is from the Civil Rights Org. Effectively reducing recidivism requires targeting those most likely to reoffend with rehabilitative programming. Yet under this bill, only minimum and low-risk prisoners would be allowed to redeem their earned time credits. So who do you think that they're going to deem as minimum and low risk? Nobody with melanin. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. The overbroad list, this is also from Civil Rights, the overbroad list of exclusions. The majority of people in prison will eventually be released. Categorically excluding the entire groups of people from receiving early release credits will undermine the efforts to reduce prison overcrowding. And I say this bill is not to reduce prison overcrowding. This is to get Trump's people out of jail when they are subsequently convicted, because you see they falling like dominoes, okay? Title 2. is the Bureau of Prisons Secure Firearm Storage. That's basically about correctional officers being able to use their firearms when they're not at work, or hold them when they're not at work or outside the prison or whatever. None of our business. Restraints on pregnant prisoners prohibited. That should go without saying, but okay. Now, more juice. Title 4, Miscellaneous Criminal Justice, okay? Section 401, the bill amends the federal criminal code to direct the borough prisons, Jeff Sessions, to place a prisoner in a facility that is not more than 500 miles away from the prisoner's primary residence, subject to bed availability and prisoner's security designation, to specify that the designation of prison placement is not reviewable by a court. So now, the Bureau of Prisons, Jeff Sessions, has the right to move anybody wherever he wants. He can keep you under 500 miles away from wherever, or he cannot. And this is not reviewable by a court, which means you can't fight it. Okay, once again, not for melanated people. All right, Section 402. The Bureau of Prisons, Jeff Sessions, must place low-risk prisoners on home confinement for the maximum amount of time permitted. You already know who that's going to be for. The bill amends Second Chance Act of 2007 to reauthorize FY 2022 and modify eligibility for elderly offender early release pilot program. Honey, aren't most of these people that they're indicting over a certain age? Okay. The Borough of Prisons must, as a part of pre-release planning procedures, help a prisoner obtain identification, including social security card, driver's license, other official identification, and birth certificate. Okay, that's good. 405, the bill authorized federal prison industries to sell products to new markets as the District of Columbia government and non-profit organizations. Okay, so now we're going to go to civilrights.org. Allows for the privatization of certain public functions and allows private entities to profit from incarceration. The bill retains provision that in order to expand programming and productive activities, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, shall develop policies for each of the wardens, each of the Bureau of Prison facilities, to enter into partnerships with private entities and industry-sponsored organizations. Section 04, the Bureau of Prison must incorporate specialized and comprehensive de-escalation procedures into its training programs. We already see how that's working out with the police. The Bureau of Prison must report on its capacity to treat heroin and opioid abuse through the evidence-based programs, including medication-assisted treatment. We already know who that's for because they don't try to help us. We are super predators. And when they are, it's a problem. It's a medical condition. Okay, so you don't know who that's for, okay? Because the Bureau of Prisons is also taking care of that too. All right. 408, the Bureau of Prisons must establish pilot programs on youth mentorship and service to abandoned, rescued, or vulnerable animals. What? Why in the... I'm confused about the animal part, okay? But youth mentorship, okay, here's the thing. Allows for privatization of certain... They did not put in there... They've already cut spending, so now they have no money for these programs that they're talking about they want to implement. So that's a catch-22 right there. It sounds good, but it really isn't, okay? They have no way to actually implement this. Probation on pretrial services. Let's see. I'm just going to skip down. Okay? This is civilrights.org. The overbroad discretion provided to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The bill gives broad authority to the Attorney General and would rely on implementation by this administration. Despite assurances to the contrary, this administration has failed to take any steps to improve the criminal justice system, blah, blah, blah. Omission of sentencing reform. Sentencing reform and both prison reform are important, but one will not work without the other. Meaningful reform requires both, okay? So basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is this is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. They make it sound like there's something that's going to help, our family members that are locked up. But in actuality, when you dig into this, I really believe that this is only being implemented and thoughts of being implemented and being brought forth as bills and laws to be changed just so they could get the people that are about to be indicted off. This is not for melanated people. And that's the end because it's getting long.